October 27th, 1942. In the pre-dawn chill of the desert, silence stretches like an endless shroud. Beneath the pale horizon, the 2nd Rifle Brigade readies for a mission they believe will be challenging, but routine. Their orders are simple. Seize a position called Outpost Snipe and hold it. Yet the desert, with all its empty beauty, hides cruel twists. A critical artillery error places them nearly a mile farther forward than intended. In the half-light, they dig in without realizing they now sit deep inside enemy territory. As they work, the wind carries the faint rumble of engines far in the distance, a sound that grows with every passing minute. What none of them know is that before this day is over, they will be surrounded, outnumbered, and fighting not just to hold a position, but to survive a storm of steel and fire that will burn their names into history. El Alamein is more than a battlefield. It's a gateway. Behind the British lines lies the Suez Canal, the artery that keeps Allied forces alive. Beyond it, the oil fields of the Middle East, a prize Rommel's Africa Corps desperately wants. If he breaks through here, the war in North Africa could be lost. But this is no place for weakness. The desert punishes both friend and foe, days so hot the ground scorches through boots, nights so cold soldiers shiver under blankets, and sandstorms so fierce they erase entire formations from sight. Out here, water is as precious as ammunition, and survival depends on grit as much as skill. And now, as the Rifle Brigade fortifies their mistaken position, faint dust clouds begin to rise over the horizon. They are not yet visible to the eye, but the men feel it. The desert is about to deliver its deadliest blow. The shapes emerge slowly through the wavering heat haze. Panzers, armored cars, and trucks, a spearhead of steel and menace rolling toward Outpost Snipe. The men count them, realizing the truth. They are hopelessly outnumbered. Yet no one turns away. Their newly issued 6-pounder anti-tank guns are lined up, barrels pointed toward the advancing enemy. Fingers hover over triggers, hearts pound beneath khaki uniforms. Then the first shell is fired, the sound tearing the morning apart. It slams into the lead tank, bursting it into flames. The Germans answer instantly. The air fills with the scream of shells, the thud of impact, the harsh sting of sand and shrapnel. Dust clouds swallow the sun as enemy armor surges forward. The men of Outpost Snipe are no longer just holding a position, they are standing alone against a tide of steel that shows no mercy and accepts no surrender. The enemy attacks come like waves against a rock, each one harder, heavier, and more determined to break the defenders. 6-pounder shells slam into German armor, sending black smoke twisting into the sky. But the panzers keep coming, rolling over wreckage, firing even as they burn. Every shot from the defenders is a gamble. Miss, and it could mean your crew's last breath. The air is alive with fire and dust, the ground shaking under the constant roar of engines. Then, disaster strikes from an unexpected quarter. Friendly artillery, unaware of the Rifle Brigade's true position, rains shells dangerously close, killing their own. It is a bitter reminder of how utterly alone they are, and yet, somehow, they hold. The wreckage piles up, the dead are pulled back, and the guns fire on. But even the strongest will can falter without a leader who refuses to break. Lieutenant Colonel Victor Turner is that leader. He moves through the storm of gunfire with a calm that defies the chaos. When shrapnel slices into his head, knocking him to the ground, he rises again, blood running down his face. He does not seek cover. He seeks his men. At shattered gun positions, he kneels beside the crews, urging them to fight on. When an anti-tank crew is killed, Turner steps behind the weapon himself, loading and firing with deadly precision. His presence becomes a shield, a rallying point. In the madness, his voice cuts through fear. Men see him wounded and still fighting, and they find the strength to stand. With every wrecked panzer, the defenders feel a flicker of hope, but Turner knows better than anyone that hope alone will not hold back the next attack, and the next attack is already on its way. By mid-afternoon, Outpost Snipe is unrecognizable. The sand is churned into a wasteland of shell craters and twisted steel. Burned-out tanks smolder beside the bodies of men who never had the chance to fire back. The 6-pounder barrels are too hot to touch, their recoil shaking exhausted arms with every shot. Ammunition carriers crawl on their bellies under fire, dragging crates of shells through the dust. The defenders are running on muscle memory now, eyes stinging from smoke, ears ringing from the endless thunder of guns. Every casualty cuts deeper. Each loss means fewer hands to load, fewer eyes to aim. And still the attacks come. Time stretches and warps. Minutes feel like hours. Yet the men do not yield. They know they are holding more than a patch of sand. They are holding the line against the collapse of an entire front. And that line is nearly spent. As darkness creeps across the desert, the attacks slow. The horizon is littered with the hulks of enemy tanks, 52 to 57 of them, silent, burning, and still. But victory comes at a price. The defenders are nearly out of ammunition, their numbers thin to a fraction. Turner knows the next assault will break them, and so, under the cover of night, he orders the withdrawal. There is no panic, no chaos, only silent movement through the darkness, the men slipping back to friendly lines like shadows. Behind them, the wreckage of the day tells its own story, a small unit, deep in enemy territory, destroying nearly 10% of Rommel's armoured force in a single day. Their courage has bought the Allies precious time that will change the course of the battle, but for the survivors, the night feels less like triumph and more like survival. In the days that follow, the scale of their stand becomes clear. Outpost Snipe's defence was not merely brave, it was decisive. By crippling Rommel's armoured spearhead, the rifle brigade had tipped the balance at El Alamein. From here, the Allied advance would gain momentum, driving the Axis out of North Africa. For his unshakable courage and leadership, Victor Turner is awarded the Victoria Cross. Yet for many of the survivors, medals mean little compared to the faces of those who did not return. The desert wind has long since erased their footprints, and the sun has bleached the battlefield clean. But the memory remains of a handful of men, surrounded and outnumbered, who refuse to break. In the unforgiving silence of the desert, their story still echoes, carried in the grit of the sand and in the history of a war decided by those willing to stand and fight.